Hello and welcome to the news at 7. Tonight, the energy price cap falls for the first time in a year. It comes into effect from the start of July, meaning a typical household bill will pay around £129 less on their annual household bill. But we'll hear from an energy poverty campaigner who says more needs to be done to get people out of energy debt. Also tonight, we'll look at the findings of a new report into plans to reintroduce lynx to Scotland. It's found that while the country could sustain a population of the species, they would be likely to prey on sheep and lambs. We'll also have all the weekend sport with Lewis. Lewis, what have you got for us tonight?
Well, we'll look ahead to the two Scottish Cup finals this weekend as Aberdeen hope to beat Celtic for the first time in 7 years at Hampden tomorrow, while Rangers aim to bounce back against Glasgow City on Sunday.
And Ewan McGregor tells us about getting back on his bike for his latest epic travel adventure. Hello, I'm Ben Phillip and welcome to the News at 7. The energy price cap will be lowered from the start of July, meaning a typical household will pay around £129 less on their annual household bill. The cap, which is set every 3 months, determines the maximum amount suppliers can charge people for each unit of gas and electricity. And this is the first fall in a year. But many households are struggling. Mary from Glasgow's bills skyrocketed after a new heating system was installed in her building, and she found herself falling deeper into debt.
The bills I was getting in were astronomical. If you don't pay it or whatever, they were threatening to could get cut off or anything like that. And you don't want to. Now, when you're on your own, your TV's like your relief. It's what gets you out of your head if you're not visiting family or whatever. The energy companies, they don't think about people. They think about the money that they're getting in, or how much this will cost, or how much that will cost. And you're like that is it electricity, food, can I put the electricity off for another wee while? Can I pay a wee bit to this so that they don't cut me off?
Well, earlier I spoke to Fraser Scott from Energy Action Scotland, a charity which campaigns to end fuel poverty. I asked him why prices were falling and what impact it was likely to have in real terms.
Well, today's announcement that there's about a 7% reduction in the default energy price cap is largely just to do with a shift in wholesale energy prices in the period that's to come. So this reduction will occur from the 1st of July all the way through to the end of September. So that's why we're seeing this reduction. And there are other minor changes in the way in which some costs are applied through the kind of daily stand-in charges. So it's welcome news that we have a reduction, but let's not forget, this is off the back of 3 increases. And actually what we're going to see is that the summer energy costs that people will experience are about 10% higher than they were last summer. So, it's welcome. But at the same time, we have to temper that with the realism that energy levels are simply unaffordable for about 1 in 3 households in Scotland.
Well, just on that then, you speak to people about their energy bills every day. What is the situation just now? Are people still struggling with their bills?
Oh, absolutely. You hear it every single day. You don't just hear about it in the winter, you hear it all year round. I mean, the evidence is there. We know that domestic energy debt in Britain is around something like £4 billion. It has doubled in just 18 months. Scotland's share of that £4 billion is probably in the region of £500 million. That's £500 million that's embedded in an awful lot of households, very low income households, people who are simply struggling to pay, struggling to find affordable solutions. And if you're not in that position of being able to afford your energy, you're either ending up in debt or you're simply going without. Living in a home that is cold and damp is bad for your health.
What needs to happen then to try and address that?
Well, we need to see a fundamental readjustment or a reset of this energy market. It is geared towards generating profit up and down the line for companies, from the moment they generate energy to the moment they try and transmit it, get it into your home, and then sell it to you in a retail market. It's much more about their profits than it is about the protection for people. People need to have affordable energy. It's 21st century Scotland. We're an energy-rich country. We are a developed country, but yet we still have 1 in 3 households who struggle to pay for adequate amounts of energy to protect their health and well-being. We need something different. We need a reset. We need a social tariff or a substantial social discount that is well targeted to the people who need help the most.
In today's other news, a 70-year-old woman has died after falling from a cliff in Shetland. Emergency services were called to St Ninian's Isle this afternoon. The Coast Guard, a police helicopter and firefighters from Sumbra were involved in the operation. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene. A man has been arrested after walking into a hospital in Glasgow armed with a crossbow. Firearms officers were called to the incident at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital this morning, as Katie Hunter reports.
This is Scotland's biggest hospital, and police, including specialist firearms officers, were called here around 6:30 this morning following reports of a man inside with a crossbow. Now, the weapon wasn't fired, no one was injured, and police say they arrested a 29-year-old man. NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde say this happened in the atrium of the hospital, that the atrium was closed for a short time, that traffic was temporarily diverted, but that there was no disruption to any of its services. And they have thanked their security teams for handling this situation before police arrived. Now, Police Scotland have said they're aware this incident may be concerning to members of the public, but that it is isolated and there is no further risk to the wider public.
Let's get a roundup of the stories making the BBC News app in Scotland. Violence against teachers in Aberdeen has risen by a quarter in the past year. There were more than 900 incidents in the first 3 months of this year. Ross County say one of their coaches was spat at by a Livingston fan. It happened after a late penalty to earn a draw in their Premiership playoff first leg. And Ollie Murs fans have been left disappointed after he walked off stage in Glasgow after just 6 songs last night. The singer said he was struggling with his voice. And for more on these stories, you can now scan the QR code which is on the screen. Right, a report into the reintroduction of these lynx in Scotland has found that while the country could sustain a population of the species, they would likely prey on sheep and lambs, and possibly myself as well. But more than 50 groups representing a range of interests and opinions contributed to the report, but consensus on the issue seems about as elusive as the animals themselves, as Nicol Nicholson reports.
A sight not frequently seen in Scotland since the Middle Ages. But in January, 4 Eurasian lynx were illegally released and subsequently captured near Kingussie. One of the animals died, and all were reportedly showing signs of starvation. While that story hit the headlines, behind the scenes, dozens of organisations were consulting on the potential to release the species legitimately. Among those in favour, the conservation and rewilding group Trees for Life.
I think you could say that ecological and economic benefits. Ecologically, it's about restoring a natural balance. It's about lynx as predators influencing other animals, so the whole of nature can start to recover. And the other benefit is economic. We know where lynx have been reintroduced in other parts of Europe, you see very significant economic benefits through tourism and people wanting to get out into wild nature.
Now a 100-page report has been released outlining both the pros and cons of bringing back the lynx. While it was agreed that there is suitable woodland and natural prey to viably sustain a population, the question of the animal's primary diet remains the most divisive. The reintroduction of the white-tailed sea eagle to Scotland has proven unpopular among many in the farming community, with lambs being taken, and opponents of the lynx's return fear a repeat.
The introduction of an apex predator creates fear in the lambs, the sheep, that they may be eaten, but also within the farmers and the crofters. It's another job to try and protect their livestock. And as we see with the sea eagles, they've ended up in a situation where there's no compensation and there's no means of protecting them.
The Scottish Government, for its part, has ruled out the reintroduction of the lynx under its watch. For anyone wanting to see the species in Scotland anytime soon, the 3 surviving animals from January's illegal release have found a new home at the Highland Wildlife Park. Nicol Nicholson, reporting Scotland.
OK, with 2 tours of Canada under their belt, performances at big international festivals and numerous albums released, Kirkwall Grammar School's Hadurgan are not your average school band. This is their 30th year and they're celebrating tonight with members, past and present, joining together for a special one-off gig as part of the Orkney Folk Festival. David Deldy has been along to see the rehearsals.
Hadurgan is an Orkney term, literally meaning to keep it up. And since 1996, that is exactly what youngsters from Kirkwall Grammar School have been doing. The idea of the current Scottish Trad Music Awards Tutor of the Year, Douglas Montgomery, he's been at the helm ever since.
The main aim was to kind of pass on, I guess, me love of the music and encourage other folks to feel the same as I did about it. Just to get youngins playing the fiddle and making music and having a good time with it.
A springboard for some, past Hadurganers now fitting in performances at the Orkney Folk Festival as part of their touring schedules.
Hadurgan was a special thing because you were learning to make music with people. You can, it's kind of like your driving test, you can learn all the science behind how to hold a violin and the technical side, but actually making music with folks, a totally different thing. And it was an amazing vehicle for that. There's things that I still refer to every day.
While the band has even performed for the likes of the Prince of Monaco, tonight's audience could be one of the toughest of the past 3 decades, with mums, dads, grannies and granddads making up a large contingent of the crowd.
The furthest travelled person is coming from Singapore, and there's people coming from England and Scotland, and then people are taking their fiddles out who's maybe not played in years, and somehow the tunes are still there under the fingers and they can still play it. It's amazing.
It is of course a relatively small number of the hundreds of members from over the years that have gone on to make music their careers. And yes, sadly, some of us are having to yarn away on the TV to make a living. But it is great to be back having a tune with everybody. David Deldy, reporting Scotland, Kirkwall.
Good luck to them. Now, we all know a walk in the park is good for us, but what about combining that with a wellness, music and fitness festival? That's the new plan from entrepreneur Scott McFarlane, who plans to bring the Paisley Alive Festival to Barshaw Park next year. He hopes it'll include a range of events from yoga to live music, live workouts, and I met him earlier to get my steps in and find out how he came up with the idea.
So I'm looking to form a fitness family music festival for the whole community and for Paisley. I feel that Paisley's on a positive step forward with cultural investment with the museums and the town hall, and this is really just a big celebration for Paisley.
Where did the idea come from?
I just felt that we don't really have anything here to enjoy in a larger scale, and I would love to bring that element to Barshaw Park.
What would the festival look like? So I suppose it sounds like there's maybe something for everyone.
Yeah, something for everyone. A very high focus on the kids element side of it, and at night time really just kind of light it up with big acts from the music scene and from grassroots in Paisley. We want to give back to the community, so we've also got the Barshaw bandstand that's been rediscovered up on the hill, and part of the vision is to reinvest back into that bandstand and bring it back to life. So this is a bandstand which was rediscovered a few years ago, and it's a massive project of ours to reinstate it, maybe to the level of Kelvin Grove, fund this, get the ball rolling so that we can get it useful for the community.
Obviously, a facility like that would be great for the community, and a lot of people here would be looking to use it.
Yeah, it would go far in the community. I do believe that.
A lovely afternoon in the park. Right, still to come, we have the weather forecast with Christopher, and we'll be speaking to Ewan McGregor as he gets ready for his next motorbike adventure. But first, it's time for all the sports. It's a very busy weekend. Here's Lewis.
Thanks very much, Ben. You're spot on. It is indeed. Hello there. Well, a 9th treble in the club's history, or a first major trophy in over a decade. That's what's on the line for Celtic and Aberdeen, respectively, ahead of tomorrow's Scottish Cup final at Hampden. Celtic dispatched St Johnstone by 5-0 in the semi-final to reach their 3rd consecutive Scottish Cup final, while Aberdeen are making their first appearance at the showpiece since 2017 after they edged past Hearts in extra time last month. Both camps are aware just how much is on the line for their clubs.
There are so many aspects that need to be really right, and I think we always make it maybe look a bit easier than it is. It's not easy, like as you said already. It's maybe for the 9th time that we can win that, and that happens not a lot. So that shows already how good we are and how good we have been during the season. And yeah, it's totally not easy, and we will need to be there in the weekend, and hopefully we can have a really great day.
It's a cup final, and anything can happen on the day. And we're excited for it. We obviously need to work extremely hard in the game to earn it. That's the first and foremost. But like I said, we're excited for the game. It's a big opportunity for the squad, and there's a lot of hunger there to go and try and achieve it.
Now, that is just the start of the excitement at Hampden this weekend, because on Sunday, the sides who narrowly missed out on the Women's League title this season battle it out for the Scottish Cup. And it will be an emotional game for Glasgow City captain Jo Love, who leaves the side after 14 years and, wait for it, 21 trophies to her name. City finished 2nd in the league but face 3rd placed Rangers, who are looking to bounce back after a disappointing final day defeat to league champions Hibs.
We're expecting a tough fight. We always get a tough game against Rangers. They're going to be coming at us, as I said, because they'll be hurting, and but we're not going to take anything for granted, and we're just going to play the game that we have done all season, and hopefully come out on top.
We've almost been used to that feeling, which is the tough one, but we know that we've got an opportunity to bounce back and win more trophies and bring them back to the club, and it's a trophy that we won last year. It was a great day last year winning that trophy. It was a lot of pride in that feeling, but we know it's going to be a tough game, but if we're at our absolute best, there's no reason we can't come out on top.
A huge weekend indeed. And now to a cracking story in Italy, where 2 Scots have the chance to write their names into the history books in Naples. Napoli midfielders Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmour are already heroes in the city since moving there in the summer. And now, after a remarkable season, they find themselves just 1 game away from clinching the title, the Scudetto. Our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin is in Napoli among the fans, from where he sent this report.
You can see the city's passion, you can feel the city's passion, and you can understand why they have really taken Billy Gilmour and Scott McTominay to their hearts. There is a real bond that has developed between the players and the city. Why is that in particular?
Having 2 Scottish players here means you have 2 Scottish fighters. You have the Scottish intensity, you have the Scottish courage, and when you have 2 players like this in your team, you can just be happy to have them.
We are very lucky to have them in our team. Now they are Neapolitan at all. We love them and we hope they will love us.
Now, 400,000 people applied for tickets for the match here in Naples this evening. Those who were not lucky enough, well, they're here on the streets. The colour, the noise, the expectation is a real assault on the senses. You can understand why people here say that football is more than just sport, it is part of their culture. You can really feel that. In terms of whether or not they should do this evening, they should beat Calgary. Inter have a very tough game away to Como. If they do, they will party very, very hard in this city this evening. And Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmour, well, they will never have to buy pizza again.
That was our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin in Naples there, if you could hear him among all the noise. Now, some surprising news, because Motherwell are searching for a new manager after announcing that Michael Wimmer here has left the club after just 12 games in charge. The German was appointed a little over 3 months ago and led the Steelmen to an 8th place finish in the league before returning to his homeland for the summer. He then informed officials at the Lanarkshire club that he would not be returning to Scotland due to family reasons and will be taking charge of third-tier German side Jan Regensburg. And now to boxing, and Josh Taylor is back in the ring tomorrow night in Glasgow, almost a year on since his last fight where he lost on points to Jack Catterall. He goes in as strong favourite against opponent Eko Essuman, but after a disappointing few years in the ring, the Scot says a win would be the first step to becoming a 2-weight world champion fighter. So good luck to him there. And there is plenty more sport for you on the BBC Sport website, including in tennis, where Novak Djokovic defeated Cameron Norrie in the semi-final of the Geneva Open. And of course you can head there to keep an eye on the Serie A scores tonight too, because I think you and I might both be doing that, Ben. What a night in store.
Certainly is. Certainly a weekend of sport.
It is. We're going to enjoy it. Well, I hope you enjoy it.
Well, this is it. You're going to the final tomorrow?
I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there as well. A bit nervous, but excited. It'll be a good game.
Contain the nerves.
Thanks very much, Lewis. Now, from Star Wars to Trainspotting, Ewan McGregor is known for his cult icon movies, but away from the big screen, there's one place you'll always find the actor: on his motorbike. In his latest Apple TV travel log, he's back biking with his best mate Charlie Boorman. This time the pair set off from Ewan's home in Perthshire and heads to Charlie's house in England, but rather than go directly, they go the long way, riding around 17 European countries. Our entertainment reporter David Farrell has been to speak to them.
It's great to be back on the road again.
For 20 years, Ewan McGregor and his best mate Charlie have been going the long way up, down and round, travelling the world on their bikes. But the latest edition of their travel series, Long Way Home, is a special one for Ewan.
The whole idea of going from our house in Scotland to Charlie's house in England was a funny idea, but it made a great deal of sense. It's nice, and it was meant a lot to me and meant a lot to my dad to get the pipe band out. And my dad's always been involved with the school band. He played in the school band when he was at school. I played in the school band when I was at school. So to have them sort of play us out from our house was great.
Dad, massive band, isn't it? God, it was like 9 of us in my band, the band I was in.
That's right, I know.
Charlie, you guys have been doing this for 2 decades, so how special is it that you get to do this with your best friend?
It's very special. I think you and I think one of our first conversations was about motorcycles, and that was almost 30 years ago now. And the idea of jumping onto a motorcycle and with a new adventure like Long Way Home, you know, especially leaving from Ewan's house in Scotland and with that marching band and then, you know, seeing him in front of me or seeing him in the mirror is a, you know, doing that with your best mate is a nice feeling.
This trip was really amazing. I mean, we've seen the first 2 episodes have come out already, and I watched them. You know, I sat down and watched them with Mary, and I was thinking, oh my God, I really had this, like, I really would like to go and do it again. I mean, it was such a wonderful, it really was such a wonderful experience.
Ewan's bikes, 10 or so, as he often says, are split between his homes in Ely and the Highlands. But having travelled most of the world on 2 wheels, Ewan says there's still more for him to do at home.
I'll never feel like I've seen enough of Scotland because it's so, you know, it's so beautiful, and I love being there. So I just love being there so much. It's got a unique, it's home, you know, and it's got that unique feeling for me. But there's whole swathes of it I've never been to. You know, I've done some of the islands and the Hebrides or Outer Hebrides, but not by any means all of them. And I would love to do that. And Orkney and Shetland I've never been to. But I've got a house there now, and so I'm gonna be spending much more time there. So that's gonna be great.
Although he might have come home, it's not the end of the road for Ewan's biking story. David Farrell, reporting Scotland.
Oh, quite the journey and adventure for the 2 of them, lucky boys. And that brings us on to the weather forecast with Christopher. We've been spoiled over the last couple of weeks with these sunny scenes like this, but it's all going to change.
It is indeed. But let's take a look at some of the pictures that have come into us today, Ben. A beautiful picture here from Caithness, big sky country, sunshine and blue sky. Great picture there from Perth as well, from our weather watcher, Weather Whiz. And down in Peebles in the Borders, sunshine, fluffy cumulus clouds, but it's all about to change. And actually we need the rain because it's been so long since it's rained in some parts of the country. It's been 5 weeks in Lucas and Fife, 35 days. Glasgow and Dumfries around about 4 weeks. Many areas at least 3 weeks since we've seen rain. But it's on the way because we exchanged the high pressure for low pressure over the next few days with a mobile Atlantic sending weather fronts our way. So it's going to rain overnight tonight. And first thing tomorrow, it's a rather cloudy picture with further outbreaks of rain, quite murky at times with some hill fog in places, and still some heavy rain from the overnight period with us anywhere really from the Banff and Buchan coast up towards Caithness, Orkney and Shetland, quite blustery as well. But it is largely mild. Now, as we head through towards Saturday afternoon, that heavier rain clears, but we're left with a lot of cloud and a number of showers, but the sunshine breaking through in the afternoon across the northeast in particular. That could trigger some heavy, maybe thundery downpours. And then this time tomorrow night, a second batch of heavy rain working northwards again. Some rumbles of thunder in the mix. Looking ahead now towards Sunday, low pressure anchored towards our north, and that means fairly wet across the far north and the Northern Isles. Elsewhere across the mainland, we're expecting a windy day with fairly frequent showers, some sunnier moments in between, but it will be a cool feel. Temperatures by afternoon around 12 to 15 Celsius. That's not far off average really for the time of year. Now, beyond Sunday into next week, we can see we've got the jet stream in a fairly flat pattern there across the Atlantic. That will deliver weather systems, low pressure towards our shores. That means it remains unsettled. This is the picture for Monday. Outbreaks of rain crossing the country at times, 13 to 15 Celsius. And on Tuesday, well, most of the wet weather probably just to the south of the border, so a bit of a reprieve, but the showers never far away. It is an unsettled outlook. You can see it on the chart there. Temperatures around about average and showers for many at times. That's the forecast, Ben.
OK, Christopher, that is a lot of change. Thank you very much indeed. And finally tonight, a prison and a primary school might not be the first buildings that spring to mind when you think of impressive architecture, but they're among 11 structures which have been named as winners of the annual Royal Incorporation of Architects in Scotland Awards. HMP Stirling and its adjoining Young Offenders Institution were singled out for the compassion and clarity in their design. Meanwhile, Riverside Primary School in Perth was praised for creating an uplifting environment that supports the well-being of pupils. The RIAS says the winners list is its most eclectic to date.
I think it would be fair to say that this is the most diverse list we've ever had, but it's excellent, and it's deliberate in as much as architects work across all fields in all kinds of buildings. And we even had a bridge that won an award this year, which was fantastic. So by Architects Moxon. So it's a case of a diverse list, but really reflective of what architects are doing and doing really well in our country. This year we shortlisted to 21, which is actually a longer shortlist than usual. So it just goes from the, to show how many good buildings they were. And our judges then have to sort of head off across the country from top to bottom, basically from Harris to the Borders, looking at the buildings that they've shortlisted before coming to the final awards.
And that's all for the moment. Graham Stewart will be here with the news tomorrow. Have a good Friday. Bye-bye.